this is my spiel for the folks on the call here, right? So the reason I want to say this is, and I'm totally going off script here, is that there's a misconception to working with your hands, that's less than or not valuable, or it's just looked down upon. I'm just going to call it like it is. And, if you look at our company and you were to look at the earnings each year, people that wear hard hats on average make more money than those sitting in cubicles. And it's because they're valuable, right? And to think, hey, we just want to send people that maybe, aren't what they'll call college material, which is the biggest joke I've ever heard in my life, is, again, you don't get a 4-year degree with us. So do you want your house worked on or your car worked on by somebody who's less than, or just, whatever? I don't. So the reason I say that to you is there's so many opportunities out there. So if you're the kind of person where you're like, hey, I like sports, I like being outside. If I had to sit at a desk all day, I'm going to lose my mind. Right. Well, there's lots of ways to make money in those other areas, right? Whether it be the line worker, whether it be an HVAC technician, a mechanic, an INC tech. I mean, all these kind of things in manufacturing and other places, you got a lot of opportunities to make money. Welders, electricians, you name it. And so the reason I wanted to share that with you is don't let people's perceptions of, hey, here's what good looks like, to hold you back from those. Because many people who go into those areas, let's just say as an electrician, and they become the go-to guru, a lot of those people go on to become entrepreneurs and run their own company. I'm sure Rico could give you a list of those people who are running those trade partners, or what we typically call subcontractors out there. So those are the kind of people that are making money. I mean, they're the ones making bank. They're not making $100,000 a year. They're making a whole lot more money than that. And again, you're not chasing money, but a lot of people think you're just going to be a mechanic. You're just going to be an electrician. These people have no idea what they're talking about. So do your research, look into it, find people who will be honest with you and help you, be objective about that. But don't just go with the flow sometimes with that, right? Dig a little bit deeper in that.
So tell me a little bit about what impresses you the most when you're considering hiring someone within your industry. So we've talked about the personal hard work that we would have to give to the industry, but I'd love for the athletes to sort of look at it from a perspective of, now, what impresses you the most?
For me, it's about character. When I'm interviewing someone, I'm looking for their character. I'm looking for work ethic. I'm looking for how they deal with adversity, and I'm asking questions, targeted selection questions, to kind of draw that conversation out so I can understand and identify their character, their work ethic, their competitive energy. And again, anytime I see someone that's worked in sports or any kind of athlete, that always piques my interest.
That social media is our initial interview. We want to look you up on Instagram, Facebook, because once you are in the seat, we want to say, okay, does this match up on the way in which you reflect yourself publicly? And typically, I'll say to our athletes that there's some cleaning up you got to do prior to that interview. And so, that usually helps us see where they see themselves and how they want to reflect themselves to the public.
So now we're talking about, I've got the job, I'm in the industry, I understand what the perks are if I'm an athlete and I've sort of been selected for the position. And now I want to know, how do I move up? How do I go from sort of entry level to mid-management to, hopefully being an owner, president, CEO? How do I move up within the company?
Well, I'll take that one because I just use my story. Like I said,
Okay.
I don't have to make this up. It's just set up the way it is. So like I said, I started when I was 18 years old, and I started, working at a company in Birmingham called Stegall Mechanical, insulating ductwork, and that's my first job. And as I went off to school, like they told me, anytime I came home, I went to work. So the pathway for growth in the construction industry is by application. And one of the things that we learn is that when you're willing to step forward and put the effort in to learn, to grow, and from when I went from the shop to the field, it was a question that I asked is, what is the purpose of a radius elbow? And they asked me, did I want to find out? And I said, yes. And then they said, well, all right, well, they sent me out in the field and I started hanging ductwork. So that went from the field to from the shop to the field to learn what I was actually putting together in the shop, what it meant. So it's through application, by applying yourself, and people like myself, and there's many of guys in my industry that have been through this same pathway. So when they do see young people that is interested, they tend to apply more. They tend to infuse more information and share more information and guidance.
Yeah, chime in. I'm just going to tee off of Rico and Scott. As I prepared for this, I think about as an athlete, right? You think about those things that you apply as an athlete. Those things are going to, serve you well your whole life. Don't forget those things, right? Whether it be planning, preparation, problem solving, teamwork, like they talked about, relationship building, hard work, all those things, those don't go away, right? And the thing is, you've been in that mode of doing that for years. And people, I'll just say, people that grow up and they're like, oh, my kids aren't going to do sports, aren't going to be involved in activities. Y'all are way ahead of the game, because you're learning those life skills that are going to apply when you get out there. So just like Scott and Rico said, it's just, for us, when you get on board, you're doing a lot of learning and you're doing a lot of listening. You're taking it all in and you're seeing what the game plan is. So to your point, Latoya, is like, do I want to, stay in that area to become a line worker, to become a journeyman, to be the best I can be? Or do I want to move into mid-management? Do I want to do those things? It just depends on what the game plan is, what the education is, what do they need you to have to get there? But I will tell you, I chased some jobs inside my company because of money. And I knew I probably didn't want to do it. I didn't love it. And it was a disaster.
I was going to say that's a great point, Tom, because when I think about playing football, one of the most consistent characteristics about strong defenses or strong offenses was really communication. How well would you be able to communicate on or off the field? And that's really an important characteristic, but even within our industry, is just being able to communicate. So we recently had a conversation about a newer hire wanting to matriculate. And what I share with them is that look at our service offerings, identify one of those service offerings that you feel like you can master. And then that will dictate the speed in which you will be able to matriculate up. Because outside of that, the day in which we live in, especially in this world of technology, I can pretty much outsource a good bit of what we need, especially if it's administrative or clerical. So what we need at this point is critical thinkers.
I want to ask, what are some of the challenges you faced in your industry and how did you overcome them? Like, we're not on here saying that everything is going to be roses and going to be perfect, but I do want everyone to get a holistic sense of the industries that you're working within if they so choose to go in that area or explore them.
Well, I'll start. When I got into the financial industry, I was at a Fortune 100 company, and I was actually at the #1 office in the country. I was the only Black in the state of Alabama. So one of the things that was immediate was, all right, if I'm the only one hearing this information about building wealth, preserving wealth, transferring wealth, who is out here sharing it? And so not having a mentor accessible, someone to be able to pick up a phone and call and say, all right, how did you do this? How do you build a business where a majority of your market really may not even be in the economic position to pay for your services? How do you do this essentially? And so not necessarily having someone that looked like me to be able to lean on to get some insight on how to make some of the decisions. And then I would say the other aspect of it is, and this is more so the perspective of launching a business, is when you don't necessarily have access to capital to underwrite or pay for the things necessary to run your business, then it's as in boxing, as Mayweather would say, you got to shoulder roll. You got to figure some things out. You got to, as they say, build a plane and fly it at the same time.
I got some great advice when I came to the company, and I did a really poor job of taking it, which was relationships matter. And I was like, all right, I got that. I mean, I can get along with people. I can talk to a brick wall. It's good. I got it. And so I developed, I would say, surface deep relationships with people. But my thing was, you know what? If I knock it out of the ballpark, if I'm the best recruiter this company has ever hired in their life, people going to notice that and they just going to move me on up. And I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. I sat at my desk and ate 90% of my lunches at my desk because I was working hard. I wasn't going to work late tonight. I'm going to go home and see my family, that kind of thing. And over time, I'd even turn around and tell people that same advice, but yet I was not really doing it like I should. And I will tell you, it's a daily and a weekly struggle to ensure that I'm still doing those things. And now that I've started to do that better, it's almost like the road is getting paved and everything is easier. And somebody told me that at 24 years old, but I was smarter, obviously. Really, I was just an idiot. Wasn't willing